Welcome to the Firecracker Department After Show. Today we're talking about Mary Walsh's episode.
Who is one of the original cast members from This Hour Has 22 Minutes. She just won the Earl Grey Award, and she was part of a fantastic show called Hatching and Dispatching from CBC. All right, let's get into it. Mandy, what did you think about my chat with Mary?
Oh, I wish I was there, first of all. One of the things that she said that I thought was so endearing and poignant for my life at this moment, she said sometimes when she is going to get something that she wants, she thinks, what kind of a price am I going to have to pay for this? Which I think is part of my thought process that I actually didn't realize was part of my thought process when I'm manifesting the life of my desires. It's like, I think of the thing and then I think of all of the terrible parts of what that's going to mean, which is so self-sabotaging. And I just love that she vocalized it in that way.
Yeah. Did that resonate for you too, Emily? Because you're all in the financial world a little bit. You have your toe in that, being an accountant.
Yeah, no, that one did. She had a lot of good golden nuggets that she said, and I wrote down. The one that stuck with me was we finally get to become the subject of our lives.
Right?
What? That blew my mind.
Yeah, like why aren't we the leads in our movie that we're writing for ourselves?
Right? Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, AJ, what did you think of that?
I think I'm really enjoying being a part of these podcasts as a listener because I am quite a bit younger than a lot of the people you interview. So I get this perspective of sort of being at the tail end of my 20s and sitting in the chaos that a lot of the women you talk to reflect back on. And there's a certain level of comfort for me too, where I'm like, okay, everyone else goes through this too. You know, we're all artists. We all have things that we're self-sabotaging, right? Or, you know, we make choices that maybe in a couple of years I'll look back and be like, oh. But it's all part of the journey. And like so much of what Mary was saying, she owns this incredible persona of who she is and what she's done. And she just sort of like laughs away at it and talks about her kids. And like when she talked about Eugene Levy, I was out for a run and I nearly peed myself laughing. And like, I'm not the craziest person in Hollywood out on the streets giggling to herself, but like, she's just like, she's so unabashedly herself and she owns the chaos that she sort of walked through. And, you know, she talked a lot about creative differences, which I really appreciated her addressing because she really was like, you know, at the end of the day, you should have creative differences and you should own them and be okay with them. And a lot of the time, and I don't always want to attribute it to being a woman, but there is an element of, you know, resigning and stopping to fight for what I think should happen because the other voices in the room are louder than I am. And, you know, she really did a great job of sort of addressing that sometimes you should fight for stuff and sometimes you should sit back and be like, maybe that's not the fight I take today.
Yeah, there's a lot of fighting going on. You have to sort of choose your battles so it doesn't seem like we're constantly like, constantly fighting. Hey, Maddie, what do you think about that world? Yeah.
Choose your battles, definitely. I think when you're in it, when you're in the creative like fire, you sometimes think that this is the most important thing in the world. And I used to say, well, no babies are dying, but I don't say that anymore because then it sounds like I'm from Alabama. But you know, it is really important, I think, to obviously. There's different battles. Like one is the battle on behalf of the creative entity, and one is the battle on behalf of the group that you feel like you're speaking for. Because let's be honest, whenever we get any opportunity that has a little bit of finances behind it, we feel a little, or I do anyway, I feel a sense of responsibility to the group which I'm representing, which, you know, in my case is women.
I mean, we're all collaborating, right? There's a huge level of collaboration, whether it's in a relationship or a creative collaboration. And Mary talked a lot about that. She also talked about aging as a woman in our industry. How does that, like, we're all coming from different generations too. How does that sit for you all? Emily, what do you think about the path of aging in our industry?
That's interesting. I try not to think about it.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I mean, she got the Earl Grey Award, which is like lifetime achievement, which I kind of drives me crazy because it's sort of like wrapping up your career, and she's still hustling. Like she's a hustler and she's creating stuff and she's writing. She still performs. She's amazing. What do you think, Ems?
Yeah, I don't know if I would have got or win. I get one of those lifetime awards. To be honest, I just try to put moisturizer on and hope it all works out, and maybe get some red color if I need it. I don't know, but then I'm like, go gray, right? Which I don't really have any gray right now, but.
Well, Mandy's got a whole podcast called Going Gray in Tinseltown, and in that sort of world.
And you look amazing, by the way, Mandy. Like your coloring and your lighting is just like, whoop! Yeah, I love it.
This whole thing today because I knew I was going to be on camera, and I want to put my hair back because it needs to be curled or it's done something because it's a little wild. I don't know how to style it in this short style yet, but I was like, I want to show my red because I still want to hold on to my former self. And so like wearing my hair back on camera today, I feel more insecure than I do when there's a little bit of red peeking out.
Right.
It's really, it's the death of a former self. I don't know how else to explain it. And I don't know what the moment is when you start to realize that you no longer identify with that person. But it definitely is happening. I'm turning 44 next month, and it started around 42, I guess. And just, I loved when Mary was talking about how she's been playing old ladies for so long that she felt like there wasn't that moment for her, and that being an old woman gave her this opportunity to just be balls to the wall all the time and like. Fuck yeah, I hope that that's the light on the other end of the tunnel for me. And I'm just so grateful, Naomi, that you're interviewing women at this stage in their lives because like I just don't have enough examples, especially in the entertainment industry, of women who are willing to talk about that transition.
What do you think, AJ? Because you're sort of in front and behind the camera. You've been doing like line producing. So you see the role of a woman aging in our industry in a totally different way.
Truthfully, a lot of the line producers I've worked with have been men. Most of the people who have been in positions of mentorship for me, I actually haven't had the opportunity to work with a lot of women. Outside of joining the Firecracker department, which was a huge motivator for me, a lot of the influences I've had throughout my life have been guys. I'm used to being the only girl in the position of, I don't want to say position of power, but in sort of an administrative controlling position. It's really common for it to just be me. And one thing Mary talked about, she does say she's comfortable in her old age, which of course comes with a bit of comfort, sitting in the current like late 20s, hitting my 30s, discomfort of figuring out, exactly who I am and what my identity is. I like that she was like, I played an old lady since I was 20. I've just been doing it. Like now I've just sort of, now I've been playing the person I am today and I can live in it. So I think she actually comes from a really unique perspective, which is nice because a lot of the podcasts you host, a lot of people talk about a lot of what Mandy is focusing on, which is this transition and which is this distinct almost power that we're relinquishing in ourselves. Like there is a power struggle between men and women, but there's also, I think we give ourselves a lot of power when we feel beautiful,
right?
And we feel like there is that visual prowess and power that we put out because we know that we can embody it. But as soon as we start transitioning into a position of feeling less of either the person we are or sort of transitioning into a new version of that, we relinquish a bit of the power. And
it's an illusion. It's not.
Yeah. And Mary did talk about it. She mentioned as you get older, you become less powerful because you are less desirable, which is what all of us fight for. All of us want to be desired. Everyone just wants to be loved at our core, and regardless of the job that you have. And I wish I had more examples of women behind the camera who I've had the opportunity to watch age, and I just haven't seen anybody.
Yeah, they're coming. Like we've got more of a community building. And speaking of power, where do you think you all get your power from? Because Mary talked a lot about like getting her power from comedy, which I absolutely agree with. I think that like part of my power is in my jokes, so that if I'm in a room full of people that are higher status than me, I can probably get to that same status just with humor. So I've got that kind of power. What about you three?
I think power, I don't know about if the word power is something that I think about. Well, I'm sure I think about it, but where I draw strength from is from truth. And to me, that's connected to my vulnerability. So I know, like, as an artist, the thing that resonates with the audience the most is my vulnerability. And the thing where I have the deepest discoveries that stimulate that artistic desire is in my vulnerability. And I think comedy is another way of saying vulnerability.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Em?
I definitely agree. Comedy's number one. And I actually had an audition today, and the person running the camera, she said something that really resonates because I didn't realize I did this, but I know who I am. I know how you can cast me. And I feel like I have a lot of power in that because I feel like some people don't. And man, you give me any scripts, I'm going to show you what M. Churchill can do with that.
Right.
And I feel like that's where my power comes from, is like being authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same sort of world.
Yeah.
AJ?
I think I actually sit on the other end, or maybe it's not even a spectrum, but I learned when I was really young that being vulnerable was a weakness where I grew up. And so I built a very strong suit of armor that I wore from when I was about 14 until I was about 29, until 6 months ago. And it was an armor of education and an armor of putting myself in scenarios where I knew I would succeed. And that where I felt vulnerable was actually in the way I looked, and not in a self-conscious way, in a powerless way. And when I was 22, I remember I was producing something, and this old dude, it's just always on the nose. I was running the day, and I had said something intelligent, and he was shocked. I'm sure it wasn't even that of a smart. I just said something. I used my voice, and he went, "Wow, beautiful and smart." And I felt any sort of empowerment I had was just gone because I was pretty. And that was something I always fought against, because I was always sort of the quirky artistic kid that people poked holes in. So I shut that away and I put that behind, and I wore a suit of armor. And I found a lot of my strength and power in being able to lead teams successfully, because I spent so much time vulnerable on my own and assessing myself in behind closed doors. And then I would put on my outfit and go out into the world and be able to lead large teams and be a successful administrator and leader. And that's how I felt powerful. And then I started working with people who were able to sort of poke holes in that armor. And now I'm actually going through a phase of rebuilding what feeling empowered is. I don't seek power. I look to just empower myself, and then be a bit of a beacon of hope for other people who might be pushing through to try and be vulnerable.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, ladies. Any last words about Mary's episode, Mary Walsh's episode? What a great recap. So if you haven't heard her episode, go to www.firecrackerdepartment.com and check it out, as well as all the other amazing guests that we've had on the Firecracker Department. Quick catch up. What are you guys all working on? Mandy, what's on your plate these days?
Well, I'm promoting my new show, my old show that's new on Amazon Prime, called Rapping with Actors. So go watch it, at least the first couple episodes, if you didn't.
Fantastic. Yes. Emily, what about you?
It's just wrestling, the wrestling movie that my husband and I are doing with a few other friends, a bunch of friends. I guess there's a lot to do because my husband is like, we're going to be really busy. So that'll be fun. Yeah, and just working on other little projects, putting it all together.
Fantastic. What about you, AJ?
I wrote a short film that I'm going to shoot this August. So I'm currently hunting down as many taxidermied house pets as I can find. And I'm also at the tail end of curating an online film school that should be launching just before TIFF.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm off to Calgary tomorrow to interview Jen Arden for the Firecracker Department, so I'm super excited about that. And we've got some really exciting projects in Firecracker Department world coming up, like a script department that we're doing in Los Angeles, and then a web series that we're working on. So all that stuff you can find out at firecrackerdepartment.com. Join the newsletter, join our community, and join the fun. Thanks, gal. See you next time.
Hey.